Did you hear? FEMA just ordered a jaw-dropping $2.7 billion worth of emergency food. Yeah, billion with a B. And guess what? They're not the only ones quietly stockpiling. Hey there, welcome back to the channel. What I'm about to reveal isn't just shocking. It could literally be a game changer for you and your family. While most people are busy scrambling for the last loaf of bread when bad weather hits, there are actually 9 powerful survival foods quietly sitting on Walmart shelves right now. And hardly anyone knows they're there. We're not talking about your usual canned beans or dollar ramen packs. These are premium, long shelf life survival foods that have been flying under the radar for years. And here's the kicker. Many of them are the exact same products that government agencies and serious preppers have been hoarding for a long time. But Walmart doesn't put these items on flashy displays. Nope, they're tucked away in random aisles or hidden behind trendy snack labels. And by the end of this video, you'll not only know exactly what these foods are, you'll know where to find them and why you need them in your emergency stash today. Now listen closely, because food item number 7 alone can feed your whole family for an entire week, and it costs less than a pizza. No joke. All right, let's dive in. Food number 1, freeze-dried fruits. Tell me something. Have you ever walked past the camping section at Walmart and noticed a couple lonely packs of freeze-dried strawberries or apples? Then you come back the next week and they're completely gone? That's no coincidence. Freeze-dried fruits are one of the biggest hidden gems in survival prepping. They're not just trendy snacks for hikers. They're practically nutritional gold, and they're disappearing fast. Here's why. They're made using a process called lyophilization, which is basically a fancy way of saying they're frozen and vacuum dried to remove all moisture. The result? Super light, crunchy fruit that keeps up to 90% of its original nutrients. Yeah, you heard that right. No soggy texture, no fridge required, and they can last 25 to 30 years on your shelf. That's longer than some mortgages. Compared to regular canned fruit, which might last a few years and usually ends up mushy, freeze-dried fruits stay crisp, fresh tasting, and packed with vitamins for decades. That makes them a survivalist's dream. Now here's the wild part. Walmart hides these little lifesavers. Seriously. They're usually stashed near the trail mix and camping gear, or way down on the bottom shelf in the health food section. And they're rarely restocked in bulk. Why? Because government agencies, emergency contractors, and quiet preppers are already snapping them up. You won't see big ads for these. They're not marketed to the masses. But once you try them, they're addictively good. Crunchy banana slices, sweet apple chunks. Kids love them, and they fit perfectly into a bug-out bag or emergency kit. Best part? You don't need to cook or even heat them. Just eat straight from the pack or soak in a little water. So, next time you're at Walmart, skip the soda aisle and dodge the snack cakes. Head to the camping section and crouch down, down low. That's usually where they hide the good stuff. Because freeze-dried fruits, they're more than snacks. They're a quiet signal that someone, somewhere, knows what's coming and is already preparing. Food number 2, canned meat alternatives. Now here's one you probably walked right past a dozen times without even noticing. Canned meat alternatives. Yeah, not the beef stew or spam everyone fights over during a panic run. I'm talking about chickpea curries, lentil stews, jackfruit, plant-based protein blends, even shelf-stable tofu. It may not sound exciting, but it's exactly the kind of smart, long-lasting food that people in the know are loading up on. These aren't just for vegans anymore. They're seriously underrated survival foods. Why? Because they're high in protein, lower in fat, way less processed than traditional canned meats, and most importantly, they store for years. Unlike meat, which can spoil if the seal breaks, plant-based alternatives are less risky, more stable, and often have cleaner ingredients. When you're in a real crisis, clean calories can make all the difference. Now here's where it gets interesting. Supply chain trackers are showing that Walmart and Costco are restocking these items more slowly than usual. That's a red flag. It could mean big bulk buyers, think FEMA, military buyers, private prepper groups, are snatching up huge quantities before they ever hit the shelves. And while most people are hoarding Chef Boyardee, these high-protein plant-based cans are quietly disappearing in the background. So by the time the panic hits, they'll be gone, and most shoppers won't even know they missed out. If you're thinking of grabbing some now, good thinking. Just a tip, keep them stored in a cool, dry place. Rotate them out once a year, and keep an eye on the expiration dates, because when the time comes and the shelves are bare, The people who prepared quietly will be the ones eating in peace, while everyone else scrambles. Now here's a little prepper tip that could make all the difference when things get tight. Always stash a few of these canned meat alternatives in your blackout pantry or bug out bag. Trust me, when protein becomes rare and people are trading instant noodles for tuna, you'll be glad you grabbed more than a 6-pack of Vienna sausages. And here's the kicker. These meat-free options aren't just basic survival food. We're talking flavor-packed meals like lentil soup, taco-seasoned TVP, textured vegetable protein, and even BBQ-style pulled jackfruit. These things are seriously underrated. They're loaded with protein, fiber, and flavor, and they only need a little heat to serve. That's a huge win if you're low on fuel or completely off-grid. Bottom line, canned meat alternatives are the stealth survival food nobody talks about until the shelves are cleared. And if you ever see a news report saying FEMA is stockpiling plant-based proteins, it's already too late for everyone else, but not for you. Food number 3, specialty grains. All right, let's move on to something that most people totally ignore at the store, specialty grains. And no, I'm not talking about plain white rice or your average bag of flour. I mean the stuff you've probably seen in the health food aisle and thought, who even eats this? Like quinoa, millet, spelt, amaranth, and buckwheat. But here's the thing. These aren't just for hipsters with mason jars and yoga mats. These grains are nutritional powerhouses, and serious preppers are already way ahead of the curve. Why? Because they pack way more value per pound than rice or pasta. They store better, and they last longer when sealed properly. For example, quinoa is a complete protein. It's got all 9 essential amino acids your body needs. Millet is incredibly drought-resistant, which is why it's used in countries that expect food shortages. Amaranth is so rich in calcium, it was considered sacred by the Aztecs, and spelt boosts digestion and stamina with iron and fiber. These grains are resilient, easy to store, and full of nutrients. That's why survival food companies are shifting away from traditional staples and leaning into ancient grains. And it's not just a trend. There are signs that the USDA is buying them in bulk, increasing procurement contracts for non-GMO versions. Translation? Your tax dollars might be stockpiling quinoa, just not for your kitchen. Want proof they're disappearing? Head to Walmart today and look carefully. These grains are often buried in the gluten-free or organic section, either up high or down low, never at eye level. And in some stores, the bulk bins for grains like rye berries or amaranth, completely empty. People on Reddit and prepper forums have been spotting strange things, like stores quietly limiting purchases or shipments going missing. And that tells you everything you need to know. If you wait until the news tells you it's time to prepare, you've already missed your window. These grains aren't just health food. They're compact, complete survival tools. The smart move? Stock up now while they're still available and reasonably priced, because once the public wakes up, good luck finding them. Food number 4, high-calorie nutrition bars. Now let's talk about something small but mighty, high-calorie survival bars. You've seen them, but you probably didn't realize what you were looking at. They're not with the granola bars or breakfast snacks. Nope. Go to Walmart's sports section and look near the bottom shelf in the nutrition aisle. That's where they hide the good stuff. I got tipped off by a former military contractor who said the Department of Defense has relied on these for years. And now, the civilian versions are just sitting there quietly, waiting to be noticed. Here's the crazy part. Some of these bars have up to 3,600 calories in a single pack. That's a whole day's worth of food, in something you can fit in your back pocket. They're designed to keep your brain sharp and your body going even in high-stress conditions. According to a recent study in the Journal of Emergency Preparedness, these bars can help you stay mentally focused for up to 72 hours. Look for labels that say things like emergency ration or meal replacement. You want something with at least 400 calories, 10 plus grams of protein, and a shelf life of 5 years or more. Not bad for something that costs less than a couple bucks. And get this, the newest versions are now temperature resistant, meaning they can survive extreme cold or blazing heat from negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. You could toss one in your car, your go bag, or your toolbox, and it'll still be edible when you need it most. I picked up a 6-pack for just $12. That's 6 days of survival food for less than the cost of a fast food combo meal. So don't sleep on these bars. They're compact, powerful, and they're quietly becoming one of the most effective survival tools out there. Keep a few in your emergency kit, your car, even your desk drawer. When it matters most, they'll be ready. Let me drop a quick coffee-related truth bomb. Don't do what I did. The first time I stocked up, I accidentally grabbed the wrong bars. Most regular protein bars, they expire in months. Useless when you're prepping long-term. You need the ones that clearly say extended shelf life on the label. Check the fine print, because when the power's out and your stomach's growling, that emergency bar could become your best friend. Food number 5, powdered dairy alternatives. Here's something wild. Just last month, the Department of Defense ordered over 80,000 pounds of powdered dairy alternatives. Not regular powdered milk, not the old school chalky stuff either. These are specialized versions designed to last for decades and still deliver nutrients your body desperately needs. Most people breeze right past these at Walmart. They're usually shoved down low in the baking aisle. No eye-catching labels, no fancy branding, but they're absolute survival gold. A study out of Cornell found that when stored properly, these powdered dairy alternatives stay nutritionally viable for up to 25 years. That's right, 25 years. They could outlast your car, your job, and maybe even your mortgage. And don't think you're stuck with a bland powder that tastes like cardboard. The latest versions, they mix instantly in cold water and actually taste decent. Plus, they're fortified with more calcium and vitamin D than regular milk. I talked to a former FEMA coordinator who told me that calcium deficiency becomes a serious crisis during extended blackouts or food shortages, especially for kids and older adults. One container, just around $22, can cover calcium needs for a family of 4 for 2 full months. And once mixed, these don't even need refrigeration. The packaging is impressive too, nitrogen-flushed, multi-layered pouches inside rugged containers. Some even come with oxygen absorbers, the same tech used in military-grade MREs. And here's the big one. USDA researchers just confirmed that even after 10 years of fluctuating storage temperatures, these alternatives retain over 95% of their nutrition. That's the kind of long-term backup plan your pantry needs. So skip the regular powdered milk and look for the versions labeled extended shelf life or emergency food supply. They're usually plain-looking on purpose, almost like they don't want you to realize how valuable they are. When everyone else's milk goes bad 3 days into a blackout, you'll be sipping your coffee like nothing happened. Food number 6, specialty cooking oils. Here's one that shocked me. A former FEMA employee told me that cooking oil is one of the first items to vanish in a real crisis. Not water, not pasta. Oil. Why? Because your everyday vegetable oil goes rancid fast, even sealed. That's where specialty oils come in. These are the hidden gems: coconut oil, refined olive oil, and avocado oil. Not only do they last up to 5 years without refrigeration, but they're also packed with serious health benefits. A study from the Journal of Food Sciences found that virgin coconut oil kept 94% of its nutrition even after 4 years at room temperature. That's incredible. Plus, these aren't just cooking fats, they're functional medicine. Coconut oil has lauric acid that helps fight infections. Olive oil is loaded with antioxidants tied to longer lifespans, and avocado oil? It's rich in heart-healthy, monounsaturated fats. Even better, new research in 2024 found that just 2 tablespoons a day of these oils helped improve immune function during food scarcity and high stress. But where do you find them in Walmart? Not with the regular oils? Nope. Check the health food section, or weirdly, near the supplements or even international foods aisle. Look for dark glass bottles or metal tins. Those protect the oil from light, extending shelf life. The expiration dates should be at least 5 years out. And here's a little insider intel. FEMA's latest emergency meal kits now include single-serve packets of these oils. That's never happened before. They know how important these are. For under $40, you can pick up all 3 and cover your cooking needs for years, without relying on rancid store-brand oil when times get tough. Food number 7, ready-to-eat meal. Pouches remember Hurricane Katrina? Over 50,000 people were stuck for days without food. Now imagine how different that would have been if every family had just one ready-to-eat meal pouch in their home. These pouches are based on the same technology used by the military in war zones, and until recently, they were hard for civilians to get. But that's changing fast. A FEMA whistleblower just revealed that over 6 million of these pouches have been secretly stockpiled across the U.S. Why? Because they work. Each one delivers around 1,200 calories. That's an entire day, sissy. worth of energy in a lightweight, shelf-stable pouch. They don't need refrigeration, they don't need extra water, and they're ready to eat in minutes, even cold. The new versions come with better packaging too, more compact, heat-resistant, and with longer shelf lives than the old MREs. Plus, they're actually getting more appetizing. Think rice bowls, pasta, and even chili with beans. These aren't your dad's cold Spam sandwiches. They're modern emergency meals that could literally save your life. That's not a typo. 7 years? I couldn't believe it either when I found these tucked away at my local Walmart. And no, they weren't with the camping supplies like you'd expect. I found them buried in the international food section, way down near the Asian products. Weird place, right? Almost like someone didn't want us finding them. These aren't just your average pouches either. Some are military grade with built-in heating systems. That's right. No stove, no microwave, not even a match needed. Just add a small amount of water to the included packet, and the thing heats itself up, piping hot in minutes. Imagine that when the grid's down and cold beans are your only other option. A Cornell University study found that these pouches retain 94% of their nutritional value even after 5 years. Compare that to your average canned food, which loses nearly half its nutrients after just 18 months. And get this, while regular grocery prices are skyrocketing, these meal pouches have actually gotten cheaper. They're now around $7 a piece, less than a drive-through combo meal. And here's where it gets extra weird. Silicon Valley billionaires have reportedly been buying them by the thousands. If the people building space rockets and AI bots are hoarding these, they might know something we don't. So do yourself a favor. Pick up at least 10 on your next Walmart run. When the shelves go bare and your neighbors are scrambling, you'll be sitting down to a warm, ready-to-eat meal. That's peace of mind. Money can't buy. Food number 8, specialty dehydrated vegetables. Have you ever noticed how some items in the emergency food aisle seem to vanish overnight? That's not random. One of the most underrated survival essentials right now is specialty dehydrated vegetables. And if you're wondering why they're getting harder to find, it's not just fellow shoppers you're competing with. It looks like the government's stocking up too. Here's the deal. Canned veggies get heat treated, which destroys a ton of their nutritional value. What you're left with is mushy, salty filler. But specialty dehydrated vegetables, they're dried using low-temperature tech that preserves up to 90% of the original nutrients. Vitamin C, potassium, fiber, the stuff your body actually needs in a crisis. A 2021 Foods Journal study confirmed it. Modern methods like refractants window drying protect delicate nutrients far better than traditional dehydration or canning. So you're not just getting calories, you're getting real bioavailable nutrition. And the shelf life? We're talking 10 years or more with no refrigeration. They're lightweight, compact, and power grid proof. Compare that to your frozen veggies, which turn into sludge the moment the freezer dies. But here's where things get interesting. Multiple sources, from food, prep forums, to off-grid YouTube channels, are flagging massive quiet government purchases. Entire pallets of dehydrated carrots, onions, and bell peppers disappearing from wholesale inventories. Shipments getting delayed. Even back orders on basic items. In fact, one Alaska-based survival supplier publicly admitted that a huge chunk of their spring stock was quietly redirected to federal contracts. And no, this isn't some wild conspiracy. We saw the same pattern during the early COVID lockdowns, FEMA and USDA snapping up supply before the public even knew what was happening. And yet, no major news outlet is covering it. No breaking news alerts. But go check your local Walmart. Try finding dehydrated spinach or zucchini online. They're thinning out, not everywhere, not all at once, but just enough to make you wonder if something bigger's going on. Most people are too distracted, loading up on canned corn and frozen peas, while the real long-term survival food slips away quietly. If you're serious about being prepared, not just fed, but functionally nourished, you need to make dehydrated vegetables a part of your plan. This isn't panic buying. This is smart, strategic prepping before it's too late. Food number 9, multi-purpose food supplements. Let me end with something that genuinely blew my mind. While digging into FEMA documents for research, I stumbled on a term I hadn't seen before. Complete nutritional replacements. These aren't protein bars. They're not vitamins. These are multi-purpose food supplements designed to give you a full day's nutrition in one compact dose. Almost nobody knows they exist, outside of elite prepper circles and government agencies. But we'll get into that bombshell in the next segment. Let's talk about something most people have never even heard of, nutrient clustering. It's a breakthrough technology that locks in vitamin stability for up to 7 years. Think about that. We're not talking about ordinary protein powder here. These multi-purpose food supplements are engineered to replace entire meals, safely, completely, and efficiently, sometimes for weeks at a time. According to the Journal of Disaster Medicine, just 2 scoops of these specialized formulations per day can provide 100% of your daily nutrition. That includes not just protein, but essential fats, carbs, fiber, vitamins, minerals, everything your body needs to function under stress. And this isn't just theory. Military units are already using them during extended operations where food delivery is impossible. That's real-world testing under the toughest conditions. And the results? They work. But here's the twist. When I went to find them at Walmart, they weren't in the supplement aisle or even near the health foods. I found them buried near the pharmacy, sometimes even beside baby formula. When I asked a store employee why, she leaned in and whispered, "We don't sell many of these, so they don't get prime shelf space." Which is exactly what makes them perfect for prepping. They fly under the radar. One container costs about $25 and replaces 14 full meals. That's less than $2 a meal, with zero prep, no refrigeration, and practically no storage footprint. Some brands even add probiotics and immune support, which can be life-saving if sanitation breaks down in an emergency. You don't need to live on these daily, but having 2 or 3 in your emergency stash could literally be the difference between surviving or suffering during a week-long food disruption. And here's something to think about. In February, over 400,000 units of these supplements were purchased by U.S. federal agencies. That's public record. The government is getting ready. Why aren't we? Next time you're at Walmart, check near the pharmacy or baby section for brands like Emerge Meal or Vital Complete. Small containers, minimal packaging, almost no advertising, and yet they're what insiders have been quietly hoarding for years. Now, this might sound like tinfoil hat territory, but let me share something concrete. In March, the Department of Homeland Security approved a $2.7 billion budget increase specifically for emergency food reserves. Not a rumor, it's in the official report. Even more telling, FEMA recently updated its food prep guidelines. They used to recommend just 3 days of food per household. That's now been raised to 30 days. Why the drastic shift? What do they know that we don't? I spoke directly with Dr. James Miller, a former USDA Emergency Response Coordinator, and what he told me was chilling. He said, government agencies don't make these kinds of purchases unless they see something coming. He pointed to a perfect storm scenario: supply chain fragility, climate disasters, and geopolitical tension, all converging to make food shortages more likely than ever. Government storage capacity has expanded by over 200% in just 18 months across 5 key states. When pressed, officials gave generic answers about modernization, but people inside the food manufacturing industry tell a very different story. Sarah Jenkins, who works with several major food brands, confirmed it. We've had to triple production just to keep up with new government contracts. Some facilities are now running 24/7. Even the Pentagon released a report last fall examining the national security threat posed by extended food supply interruptions. They're not just stocking shelves, they're running scenarios. You don't run war games unless you expect the battlefield. So here's what I want you to do, right after this video ends. 1. Go to Walmart. 2. Look for the 9 survival foods we've covered. 3. Start small. Just add 1 or 2 items each trip. Within a month, you could have a solid emergency food stash for your whole family. Remember, this isn't about fear or panic. It's about foresight. Being ready, not reactive. Most people won't prepare until it's too late. But you're already ahead of the curve. If this video helped you, hit that subscribe button right now. I'm working on a follow-up where I'll show you exactly how to store these foods to maximize shelf life, because even small mistakes can cut that time in half. And next week, I'll reveal the 3 non-food items FEMA is quietly stockpiling, and almost every prepper overlooks them. I hope we never have to use these supplies, but history proves over and over, those who prepare survive. Food security isn't about fear, it's about freedom, confidence, and knowing your loved ones will be okay no matter what. Thanks for watching. If this message resonated, care about, because when it all hits the fan, it won't be about luck. It'll be about who was prepared. Stay safe, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next one.